Welcome to this podcast based on Human Capital Institute's A Social Network Strategy, What's Best for Your Organization webcast, sponsored by TMP Worldwide. This event was presented by Anthony Scarpino, Senior Director of Talent Acquisition for Sodexo. Most recruiters spend a good deal of their sourcing time on social networks. The technology has become a primary driver for communication in college, experience, and executive hiring across the globe. Let's have a listen as Anthony helps define what's best for your organization.
I am personally a big fan of social media and social networking and its application to talent acquisition. However, as I go through the topic, I'm not implying that social media strategy is synonymous with a comprehensive recruitment strategy. You won't hear me predict the death of the job boards or that recruiting online should replace phone conversations and live networking. Just like all of you, I think Sodexo's talent acquisition strategies require us to use multiple dimensions to attract the top talent that we need to meet our customers' needs across the many different demographic and geographic categories that we recruit for. So it's important that social media is considered a part of your overall strategy. And there's certainly a lot of ways for you to monitor the online conversations regarding your brand, from simple do-it-yourself tools like the Google Alerts and TweetDeck searches that I have on the slide, to more complex public relations like sentiment and tone measurements. There's a good list of vendors. Actually, I'm commenting on the list is good, not necessarily, I don't have an opinion about the vendors, but there's a good list on webstrategist.com, the blog URL that's on the bottom of the page here, that I encourage you to check out. The original post is actually from November of 2006, but as of last week, earlier this month, people were still adding new companies into the comment section of the blog, so you can see some recent additions as well. Your ad agency, like TMP, can also help recommend a vendor based on your needs if you decide to go that route. But for our conversations, I want to focus more on what you should be monitoring regardless of the tools that you use. So of course that would include your company, and if you have several brands you're representing, maybe monitoring mentions of each brand. I also suggest you look for mentions of key people in your organization, your CEO and other C-level executives. Now, if you're looking at using social media for talent acquisition purposes, you might want to follow mentions of other decision makers related to HR for your company. So anybody that your current employees or former employees might have formed an opinion on based on decisions that might have been made that affect your employees. And as important it is for you to know what is being said about your own company and people, it's also helpful to know what is being said about your competitors and even in general about the industry you're operating in. So what are your competitors' employees saying that they need that you know you can provide? Or what's important to people in the industry that you see as a strength or a weakness of your organization? Once you've audited your brand, I think the next step is to start to think about setting your goals. Now, social media is a funny animal. For some of us, being in social media for the sake of being in social media may have been the initial goal. You know, if you're like me, it might have been your friends or more likely your kids that had a Facebook page, so you needed a Facebook page, or someone in your organization started to tweet, so you joined Twitter. And in most cases, we set up a profile not knowing what to expect, and lo and behold, we find a purpose. You know, Facebook became fun to reconnect with old college and high school students, or Twitter became fun to share random thoughts. So just even in our business life, I think many of us first need to dabble in the community before we can figure out exactly what we want to do with it. For the purposes of attracting top talent, though, I think we can and should predefine some of our goals, our goals for getting into social media. Just clear and simple goals regarding the purpose and the audience that we're trying to reach. Now, again, notice that we're not really naming our platform or community yet, just who we want to reach and what we want them to do. So we have our audit and we have our goals, and now we start to develop our action. So the first action step is to ensure that you're prepared to participate in social media, or as I like to call it, batten down the hatches. Now, the majority of Sodexo's community interactions have been very positive, but we did do a fair amount of homework early on to identify potential risks and contingencies for those risks. So first, review your organization's existing communications policies and how they might apply to what you say on social media. The next action is to lurk, listen, and learn. And let me start by this slide by admitting that lurk is not my word. I wish I recall where I heard it or read it, because I think it perfectly describes the next step to developing that social media strategy. At Sodexo, as we consider new social media sites, we create a company profile, usually under the Sodexo Careers past, present, and future name, and then we just watch for a little while. Another benefit to lurking for a while is to help identify who you want as part of your group. It's very tempting to accept every Facebook friend or LinkedIn connection, and many people just automatically follow whomever follows them on Twitter. So you learn pretty quickly that what you end up with is a vast network of other recruiters, social media marketers, and people trying to sell you stuff that you probably don't need. So you have your authentic brand, you have your authentic branded profile in place, and you begin to tap the community for friends. Your strategy should also include an internal and external promotional campaign or communications campaign. This is simply telling other people that you're there and inviting them to join you. And again, don't limit that to only telling your existing fans or followers that you're there. You want to find people that are not in the community and invite them. So you might use your email signature, your other online advertising that you do. Certainly you want to use other social media and your corporate website. Wherever you promote your organization or your department, promote your communities as well. Let everything drive traffic to each other. But I recommend that these are the types of actions that you plan and build out in your strategy in a very broad way, and give some consideration to. And the first is to give. And really, social media is about giving to get. Give value to your community members based on what you learn they're looking for. Answer their questions, provide referrals for them, provide referrals from one member to another member. Give thanks for them participating in your group or for extending your message. And if you've been successful in getting one of those highly sought-after top candidates to join your group, be sure that they know that you value their contributions in the industry and their contributions to your group. Engagement is that term used to encompass any type of valuable interaction in your community, but it's really tough to quantify. A good barometer for us is, in our communities is that if Terry is the only one commenting on our fan page or our group site, then our group members are not engaged. We work really hard to encourage participation, feedback, and conversation. And you can do the same by starting a topic and asking questions, maybe commenting on a topic that was started by another group member, recognizing and promoting those who participate in the group, and even deputizing your own employees who participate, encouraging a lot of interaction and participation among the group members. Along with participation, your strategy should include options that you'll use to drive the action that you hoped would achieve your goals. So if the purpose was to get candidate applies, then give lots of opportunities throughout the community to apply. If the purpose was to drive traffic to your website, then give lots of links to your website. If it's extending your message, provide lots of share options. The point of all that is just that an informational post about your culture is really of limited use if it cannot be acted upon or at least shared and then acted upon by the person that receives it. For the sanity of your community members and probably more yourself, I think pace yourself is one of the lessons learned from my initial days on social media. It's very tempting to tweet every meeting on your schedule or every 30 seconds of a business trip. It's also very tempting to share all of the great things about your company as quickly as you can type them into a Facebook page. But what you end up with is a very fragmented social media presence where it's difficult for your community to find a purpose. So instead, pace yourself and give some thought to sort of almost like a message of the week type of plan. And then the last two bullets there, similar to pacing yourself, I suggest you incorporate a little redundancy into your social media. A featured news post on LinkedIn might have a lifespan of maybe a week at best, and the same info on Facebook would get attention for a few days, and on Twitter it's a few hours to a few minutes. So just because you mentioned your great benefits package in May doesn't mean that the message is now played for the remainder of the year. So new members of the community probably haven't seen it, and even existing members only had a fleeting glance. So don't be afraid to repeat the important messages from time to time.